The Michigan Man Podcast, episode 115. This is the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. A very happy 4th of July to each and every one of you. Coming up on today's show on our Michigan Insider segment, the first of our football preview shows is coming up. Today our guest is going to be Zach Travis from one of our very best Michigan blogs, Maize N Brew. So we hope you will stick around for that. Before we start to talk some football with Zach Travis from Maize N Brew, let's kick it off as we always do with our view from Section 17. Well, it is the first week of July. There is not a lot going on the Wolverine athletic front, but as I mentioned, it is preview month. We are just a short 4 weeks away from the beginning of two-a-days. If you go into any store right now, all of the preseason magazines are out. BTN is starting to do their previews, so everyone is starting to get very excited and anticipate not only the beginning of practice, but the kickoff to the season, which will be on Saturday, September 1st for the Wolverines against the defending national champion, Alabama Crimson Tide. So it's all coming up on us very quickly. But let's try to enjoy what's left of summer and have fun with all of the previews. Coming up next on our Michigan Insider segment, the first of our many preview shows. And again, we're going to be joined by Zach Travis from the Michigan blog, Maize N Brew. That's coming up next here on the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine. Joining us on our Michigan Insider segment today from one of our very best Michigan blogs, Maize N Brew, Zach Travis. Zach, thanks for joining us.
No problem, man. Good to be here.
Well, Zach, it's that time of year. It's early July, and all of the preview magazines, a lot of them are out already, but most of them will be coming out in the next week or so. So the long preview season begins in July and August. It sometimes seems almost as long as the season, doesn't it?
Yeah, the previews, we definitely take a lot of time these days looking at teams. It's hard to get a really good idea of what you're looking at until you see the games, but we do our best.
Well, we do our best, and it's a lot of fun because we have a lot of space to fill between now and the opening kickoff Labor Day weekend in Alabama. But I thought, Zach, we could start by taking a look at the offense this year. We expect, at least on paper, that this is going to be a very explosive offense led by Denard Robinson in his senior season. Let's, if we could, take just a couple of minutes to look at this offense position group by position group, starting with the offensive line, and get your thoughts on what you expect from that unit and their strengths and their weaknesses as you see them.
As far as the offensive line, I'm really impressed and I'm really hopeful about the starting five. I worry about depth. I think it could be a big issue. Last year, the offensive line really avoided injuries, and they needed to because there wasn't a lot of depth, and I think they're even thinner this year. I worry about the tackles. As long as Lawan and Schofield can stay healthy, I think that's probably best duo of tackles in the Big Ten, or at least close to it. But if either of them go down, you're looking at a freshman sliding in, like maybe Callis sliding in, or else moving a guard outside, and it could be scary. But I'm really hopeful that the line stays healthy for the most part, and I think if they do, it's one of the better units in the Big Ten. And I think it's the second year in the offense, things are only going to improve. But depth is it's worrying right now, and it's going to be the theme of a couple of different position groups.
Yeah, I think we're all worried just a bit this year, at least, about the depth. What about Ricky Barnum moving over to center? We heard a lot of good things in the spring. Do you have good vibes about that?
I do. I think he had enough. He had enough history at that position. He's done enough at it that it's not like a couple of years ago when Molk went down and they had to move David Mooseman over to center just in like the middle of the season, and that was just tragic. I mean, he was snapping the ball over his head, and it was. But I think Barnum having the off season to really get into it and having done a lot of the center stuff in practice and kind of he's comfortable enough with the position that, I mean, you're never going to totally replace a guy like David Molk because he's almost like a once-in-a-generation center. But I think we're going to be pretty solid. And I like Miller as the backup in case anything goes wrong. It's nice to have true backup. But, yeah, that's another one of the spots in the offensive line I think is good. I think the only question I really have is going to be guard because you don't know what Omame is going to really play up to his potential. He struggled at times last season, and then just finding somebody else for that left guard spot.
Well, I think we can all agree that the depth is going to be a concern, but as you mentioned, Zach, probably if everyone stays healthy and plays up to expectations, this is one of the best offensive line units in the Big Ten this year. Well, let's move over to the wide receiver position. A lot of folks that follow the program a bit worried about the depth there, too. What do you think?
I mean, it's tough to even talk about depth because you don't even have anyone really separating themselves at the top of the lineup. There's not really any, starter. I mean, there is Roy Roundtree, but Roy had such a tough year last year, moving away from that slot position, moved more to the outside. It doesn't seem to suit his skill set very well. He's the kind of guy who works well over the middle, works well in underneath zones and finding seams, and doesn't deal as well with one-on-one coverage on the outside. Gallen is the same way, although Gallen played pretty well last year in spots on the outside. But past those two guys, I mean, we were really hoping Gerald Robinson would come through and have a big spring, and all he's managed to do is get in a little bit of legal trouble, and we'll see how that eventually resolves itself.
Right. Do you see a couple of the freshmen having to step in at the wide receiver spot?
I think both Chesson and Darbo will have to step in, and they'll at least get some snaps. I don't know how much they will play. I don't know if either of them will start, but I mean, they'll definitely, there's no red shirt for either of them. There can't be with the amount of depth on the outside.
Would it be nice if one of those guys develops a bit more quickly than we anticipated? Because maybe then you could move Roundtree back into the slot.
There's definitely a chance that one of those guys could step up. I mean, if you're looking at any position for a high school player to come in and contribute early, wide receiver is one where you can make a big impact early. It's not one where you really have to bulk up a lot like the offensive line. There's not as much to learn like quarterback and offensive line. You can get the early impact guys, and you can kind of get the surprises. And I think both Darbo and Chesson they're solid receivers. They're good athletes, and if things break the right way, they could have one of them at least could have a pretty good season.
Zach, what about over in the slot?
It's a lot the same. I'm not even sure who's slated to start there as it is. Probably Gallen, who I think he had a good year last year, and that was after a year or so of just wondering when he was going to show up and constantly shaking my fist at the TV at special teams play he was involved in. It was nice to see him kind of put it together and have a good year, and I think he's going to have another one. I think he'll be a solid receiver, and the slot's going to be dependent on a lot because there's just not much at tight end. The staff isn't going to be able to roll out two tight end sets. It's going to be tough to roll out single tight end sets. I mean, that position might be the weakest on the team. But I think Gallen will be good. Dilio has shown some flashes. He's never going to be the kind of guy who's going to explode for 100 yards a game.
So I think we can safely say that the wide receiver positions in the slot are question marks heading into the season. We could be surprised, but we've got some nice possession receivers in the slot, and we're going to have to depend on a couple of wide receivers that are freshmen. You never know what you're going to get there. Let's move back to the running back position, a position that we think has some depth for the first time in a long time at Michigan, with, of course, Fitzgerald Toussaint coming back after his 1,000-yard season.
I like the running backs a lot. I think the running back position, it seems like it's for the first time, like you said, in a while, it seems pretty stable. Toussaint has gotten over his early injury problems, it seems like, and he had a great year last year. He ran exactly the way you want to see a guy like that run, and he showed all the potential that he showed in high school. He was a really good running back in high school, and you always knew that that was there, but he just couldn't stay on the field, and it was nice to see him stay on, put that together, and put that kind of season together. And I think going forward, sky's the limit. I think he's one of the better backs in the Big Ten, and I'm looking for another 1,000-yard season from him. And then behind him, nice to have some different options. Rawls ran really good in the spring. He showed some things, and he actually showed why a lot of people were high on him. I know the kind of consensus on Rawls was split between people who thought he was just a kind of an okay, maybe a depth chart guy, enough that he's a major sleeper, but starting to trend like he might be kind of solid back that rewards some people's confidence in him. And then past him, there's options for third down back. I mean, Vincent Smith there. Vincent Smith has always been there. You know what you're going to get. Really good. I mean, he does everything you need. He does all the little stuff. He can block, catch, understands offense. I mean, it's exactly what you want in a third down back. As long as it's not third down, 3rd and 1 and running them out of the I formation, which hope they get away from a little bit this year.
Thomas Rawls is a guy, Angelique Shingelis mentioned this in the spring. She sees him as a guy that really came on in the spring, as you said. He's starting to meet some of the expectations that scouts and the coaching staff had for him. He is that big banger that we haven't had in a long time coming out of the backfield.
Yeah, definitely like a bowling ball out of the backfield. A north-south guy, put his shoulder down, runs through you. Nice to have that back. He's kind of like a Brandon Minor type. And I think he'll have a pretty solid role in this offense, at least this year. And then in the future, who knows what happens with Toussaint. He leaves early, but it's nice to know that a guy like Rawls is there to step in and carry some of that load.
Yeah, agreed. I think we all feel pretty good about the situation in the backfield. Let's move to the all-important position of quarterback, and of course we all know who's there. Denard Robinson in his senior season, and maybe more importantly, in his second year in Coach Borges' offense. A lot of improvements we need to see from Denard. We know what he can do with his feet. This year, the big thing is, what does he do with the passing game, the consistency, the decision-making? You know, last year we heard a lot of talk from Coach Borges that quarterbacks he has coached in the past made big steps forward in the second year in his offense. Do you think we're going to see that from Denard this year?
I think we are. I think that second year in the offense really, it should be the first thing that everybody talks about, but it's never the first thing. It's never even hardly mentioned on a national scale. A lot of people talk about, they talk the interceptions, they talk about his size, they talk about his NFL future, and it's unfortunate because even if you look at just last year, the progression that he had over the course of the year, he was a different quarterback the last half of the season than he was the first. I mean, he threw 10 interceptions in his first 6 games. He threw 5 interceptions over the last 7, I think. I'll break it down. And he was just, his percentages were better. You look at games like Notre Dame, where he put up a lot of stats, but he really struggled early. But he didn't struggle early in a lot of those late games. Came out, he made the throws he needed to. He wasn't as relied on, which I think was a big part of it. It looked like the Illinois game, the Nebraska game, even Ohio State. He didn't have to beat teams with his arm because the running game was working. I think once the running game took off, and gave him a little breathing room and kind of made that passing game a second option, that's when he did his best. And that's why I think coming into the next season, I think the running game is going to be solid. And then I think just having an off season to work in this offense, understand things better, practice the form, and trying to get away from just slinging it off his back foot, which he did a number of times early and kind of got better at later on in the season. I think he's going to have a really good year. I don't know if it's going to be a great year. I don't know if it's, you don't want to throw around Heisman too much. It's kind of the word in the back of everybody's mind. I'll just say this. If the Wolverines get to 11 wins this year again, there's no way that Denard Robinson is not on the stage in New York in December.
I think you're probably right about that. So wrapping up the offense, Zach, we, of course, as we mentioned a few moments ago, do have the questions at the wide receiver position and the slot. But overall, the offense now in its second year under the direction of Coach Borges. Everyone thinks it's going to be explosive and powerful. This offense is shaping up to be even better than last year.
Yeah, hopefully. The depth is the biggest concern, but I think if everything goes according to plan, this offense is going to be better than last year and more consistent than last year.
Our guest today is Zach Travis from Maize N Brew, one of our very best Michigan blogs. We're just taking a look ahead, the first of many preseason shows that we'll be doing. This is our first show in July, and we've just talked a bit about the offense and the expectations there. Zach, if we could, let's move over to the defensive side, taking a look at some of the position groups there. Coach Madison, of course, did an outstanding job, much better than I think any of us thought he would do, pulling together that defense last year. Let's start with our defensive front, which is inexperienced but has talent, and that is the one position group on the team that we really need to see at least play very well. A lot of people say we still don't have the size. That's what a lot of the national pundits say. Still not the size that Coach Madison wants. We need to see them step up and play big, don't we?
Yes, we certainly do. I mentioned before that Denard Robinson having a Heisman season was going to be the key to this team getting to 10 or 11 wins. I think even more than that, the biggest thing going forward in 2012 is going to be the play of the defensive line. And there's a chance that they can really step into that role and it can really play well. But there's a lot of question marks. You look at size, moving Jabril Black inside. He's got talent, and I think he's the kind of guy who can, if he adapts to this position well, I think he could really be a force in there. Pretext a good place to get one-on-one matchup, slice into the backfield and wreak havoc, and I think he can do that. The problem is holding up to the run against 315-pound guards who are just going to be bearing down on him. Then outside, I like the ends. I worry a bit about the weak side holding up to the run. On the outside, that was one of the problems last year. It seemed at times, I know Michigan State exploited the edges pretty much all game, and they just ran all over the defensive line. But Frank Clark and Brennan Byers can pick it up and can kind of stay solid against the run. I think they've got the athleticism in the passing game to really cause some damage in the backfield. I really like the way they both play. And the way they played as freshmen. Craig Rowe, you know what Craig Rowe is going to give you. He's a really solid player. I think he's going to be really good at that strong side end. I think that's a good move for him. I think it's a good move for the team because it gets those other guys, Black and Fire, gets them on the field more. And, I mean, the biggest question mark for me, I know it is for everybody else, because every time you looked at a press conference transcript over the spring, this was the name that kept coming up, Will Campbell. Campbell can do on the inside this defense with the defensive line, with the size they have across the board, everybody being a little undersized. It's going to come down to somebody in the middle really just soaking up blocks and holding up against two guys. And if Will Campbell can be that rock in the middle and constantly command a double team and get a little penetration and stop the cutback lanes and hold the point of attack, I mean, it's going to help everybody else tremendously, and it's going to make everybody else's job easier. Guys on the line, the linebackers on the inside who will have more lanes to get the running back, be able to clean things up a little bit quicker. And it's going to be Campbell. And hopefully Campbell is up for it. If he's not, hopefully a combination of him and Pipkins, Ash, can pull down that middle spot. Because that one-tech position that's the defense right there. I think that's the biggest area of need for somebody to really step up. And it could make a world of difference. And if we get really good production in there, I could see the defense having a similar year to what it did last year.
Which I think everyone would be excited about. So yes, I think the big question up front is we would all agree is what is Will Campbell going to do? Is the light bulb going to finally go off this year for that big and talented guy? That would make a big difference. We know what we've got in the back seven. Solid there. Let's move back to that linebacking core and get your thoughts on that.
The linebacking core, I think, is going to be pretty solid. Last year there was some growing pains early on, but that's what happens when you start two freshmen for most of the year. But I think coming into this season, I'm really excited about Jake Ryan. I think this is going to be a breakout year. I haven't seen his name mentioned on any all-conference preseason list. I think that's a crime. I love the way the kid plays. He's a football player. He knows how to get in the backfield, knows where the ball's coming to. I mean, he reads plays well, and he just plays with that reckless abandon that you want a strong side attacking linebacker. I'm excited to see what he does in the second year and beyond. I think he's going to be one of the guys that you're talking about another 5-6 years is what a Michigan defender is supposed to be. And I think he's going to be the kind of guy that you're going to be able to sell recruits on here and say, you're going to be the next Jake Ryan. And I'm excited for the way he's going to play. And then on the inside, Kenny Demmons is Kenny Demmons, just a tackler. He's not a spectacular middle linebacker, but you don't always need that. He's good in coverage, good flow into the ball. He's a solid tackler, and that's probably going to be enough. And then hopefully Desmond Morgan takes another step up. I know he struggled at times reading plays and getting to the right side of block, doing the little things, but he has a pretty good understanding of the game. He's pretty developed, and now he's finally got a little bit of competition behind him, people pushing him. So I think the linebackers are going to take a step forward this year. He's pretty solid.
As far as the secondary goes, I think for the first time in many years, we have to feel better about our corners and strong and free safety. Heading into the season, this group looks to be very solid, too.
Yeah, it's weird to think that the secondary is probably the strongest unit on the defense. Tell myself that, and then I have to kind of stop and think about it. Yeah, I'm right, because everybody's back. You kind of got to convince yourself every time you say it, and that's just goes to show the depth that this team got to in the secondary in 2009, 2010, but they really turned it around last year. I think it's going to be a solid group. I'm really excited for the future Blake Thomas has in front of him. I think he's going to be a really good player. And it's nice to see somebody like J.T. Floyd get the chance to redeem himself and turn from what was basically a liability out of corner into a solid player. To the kind of guy you're not constantly afraid is going to get burnt, can't cover the slant, things like that. Really picked it up. And then safety depth, safety competency. I mean, it's great to see. Kovacs he's been there for the past few years, but to have Gordon step in like he did, I'm almost speechless about the secondary because it's been so long since we've really been able to talk about that unit as position strength and get back to remembering what that's like.
So I think in wrapping up on the defense, though, most Michigan fans would agree that if the defensive line develops, better than we expected, this could be a pretty special unit, couldn't it?
Yeah, I think he could, but I think even best case scenario, I think the unit tops out about where it did last year, which is still really good, but I expect a regression just because, it's going to be really, really hard for that defensive line to do what Mike Martin and Ryan Van Bergen and Inger were able to do. These guys at points last season willed this team to victory, and that third and short defense, the fourth and short defense, you got to look at 90% of that being the guys right in the middle of the line. And it's going to be really, really hard for this group of defensive linemen to get back to that level. They can still be good, and the rest of the defense is going to be improved, and I think that'll help kind of even things out. But I do look for the defense to regress a little bit. I look for the turnovers to kind of regress to the mean. I'm not expecting that many recovered fumbles again. It's just, I think that defensive staff prepares the team better, but there was some pretty fortunate bounces last year, and you don't always get those, and it's hard to rely on those. And then I think the third and short defense is still going to be good. I just don't think it's going to be as otherworldly good as it was in 2011.
Our guest on our Michigan Insider segment today is Zach Travis from Maize N Brew, and we just wrapped up the offense and the defensive talk for this coming season. Zach, expectations, as we all know, especially this time of the year, running really high after last season. But in reality, do you think that this team has a chance to duplicate last season's 11-2 record?
Yeah, I think they have a chance. I think you always have a chance. I just don't think it's a good chance, and I don't expect it. I think the biggest thing, and you hear a lot of people talk about teams being better but with a worse record.
Right.
And it's an interesting way of putting it, but I think the biggest thing we're going to learn this season is kind of what kind of coach. I think this is going to be more indicative of what kind of coach Brady Hoke is than what last season was. Because he walked into last season, nobody expected much. A lot of people were predicting 6 and 7 wins for this team, and I was cautiously optimistic that they would get 8. And that was with a schedule that was very advantageous. That was with a pretty solid group of guys coming back. So I really think that this year, now the expectations are really high. You've got people penciling this team in for the Legends Division title. You've got people talking about 10, 11 wins, BCS bowl games. There's the occasional person who says, this team could compete for a national championship, which is like so far and away from what we should be thinking about right now.
Right.
But there's the expectation's going to be just through the roof, and things are going to be hard. The schedule is just ridiculously tough. Talking about away game at Notre Dame in the non-conference schedule, opening a season with Alabama in Texas. This is not the kind of season that you can just kind of skate through. If the Wolverines get 10 wins, that is going to speak volumes about the way that Brady Hoke is able to coach and able to really get the team through the week. It's not just game stuff. It's through the distractions, through all the press cover and everything. It's really preparing these kids to go out on Saturdays. I think the talent is there to win these games, and I think the team is finally right, and it finally tailored to player strength. It's just a head coach's job is so much more than just Saturday stuff. It's putting everything together. I think if this team gets to that 10-win mark, 11 wins, that's going to be a good sign for the future, because it's going to show that Brady Hoke has that whole package and deal with all the pressure. And it's the kind of season that I think foreshadows overshadows bigger things, but not going to be easy.
No, I think most people have to just, take a breath, look at their schedule, and as you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, it might not be the same or might not show up this year in the win-loss column. When you look ahead to some of the games this year, most years Michigan fans, they wouldn't even ask this question, but given the divisional implications and that 4-year losing streak to the Spartans, which game this year do you think is more important for Michigan? Michigan State or the Buckeyes?
It's tough because you always want to say Ohio State because it feels weird to not say Ohio State. And there's still a lot riding on that game. I mean, with Urban Meyer coming in, losing the first game to Urban Meyer, it's almost precedent-setting, but not really precedent-setting. It's basically just going to create the media narrative for the next year. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy thing to frame and to think about. But the Michigan State game, really, it looms large, and it looms large for a lot more reasons. It's that 4-game losing streak, and it's the division title, and it's D'Antonio's just seething hatred for everything Michigan.
Yeah.
I think that game probably is more important if you look at it objectively, but I think subjectively, if you look at the schedule just as a Michigan fan, it's always Ohio State. But the Michigan State game is going to be probably the most important one when you're talking about the big-time goals as far as Big Ten championship.
And I think most Michigan fans would agree that Coach D'Antonio has really been enjoying these last 4 years. And, another way of looking at it is the Ohio State game is the Ohio State game, the game. For it to be even more important this year, beating Michigan State earlier in October is very, very important to help set the stage for that game, too.
We got to get that four-game monkey off our back. I got too many Michigan State friends who kind of don't let me live that one down. It's a retort I want to take out of their holster.
Zach, are you surprised at how quickly Coach Hoke has turned this program around? I think, as you mentioned, I felt the same way. When he came in, I thought, the first year, 7 or 8 wins, show an uptick in the recruiting classes, and most of us would be pretty happy, especially after what we had gone through the previous 4 years. But he has turned it around so quickly on so many fronts. And, when the interviews were going on, when Brandon was interviewing candidates, a lot of people you talk to about Brady Hoke, a lot of Michigan fans I talk to anyway, were sort of ho-hum. Like, can't we find someone that's a bit more dynamic and from a stronger program? Your thoughts on how quickly he seems to have turned that around in many people's opinion?
It was very quick, and it was much quicker than I would have ever expected. I was definitely one of the people who, when Brady Hoke was hired, was very disappointed with it, and I was openly disappointed with it. I was still writing for Maize N Brew at the time, and I wrote a couple of columns that that people kind of throw back in my face now. And I still stand by them at the time because what we were looking at, the coaching search landscape, what there was out there, I think there was potentially some bigger names, and I think Brandon kind of limited himself. And Brady Hoke's resume just didn't jump off the page. But hindsight's 20/20, and the fact is that Hoke was unquestionably the right guy for the job. And I don't know if Dave Brandon got lucky or if this was part of his master plan. I'd like to think it's part of his master plan that makes me a lot more comfortable about some of the other decisions the athletic department makes, but it worked out really well. And Hoke is, what else can you say? He's done everything right. He's done everything right recruiting, said all the right things in the press conferences, hired the right staff. The guy's batting 1,000, and it's not only is he doing that, but he's doing it in one of the tougher jobs in the country, one of the more scrutinized jobs in the country. It's been incredible.
His reputation was always as a great recruiter. Even when he was here, you talk to high school coaches, they liked him when he was here before. So
he really had inroads as far as high school coaches in Michigan and Ohio, Illinois. But it's just amazing how well he's done on the recruiting. I mean, it's more than amazing in these first 2 years, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. This is the absolute best case scenario. You couldn't have asked for more. And there were multiple times last year when I just kind of had to sit back and pinch myself. Wow, we're really winning this game? Like, we're really undefeated at this point in the season? We're really this close to maybe compete for a Big Ten championship? We're getting into a BCS bowl game? I mean, they're just things that you wouldn't be able to expect going into last season. And everything worked out, and the team played well as it could. And, even the small problems were just small problems. There was no big collapses. Everybody played together. Everybody said the right things. It was really a dream season. There's no way around that.
No, there's no way around it, and we were all surprised. We all enjoyed it last year. So last question for you, Zach. Right now, early July, your prediction, or best guess, how do you think this team is going to fare in 2012? And if someone had to pin you down to wins and losses, what do you think we're going to see at the end of the season?
I'm going to say regular season 8 or 9 wins. Cautiously optimistic that they can get the 9 wins and then maybe get that 10th win in a bowl game, like the Capital One Bowl. I think the Alabama game is a loss, and I think Michigan loses 2 of 3 to either Notre Dame, Michigan State, or Ohio State, with Nebraska being kind of that other team there that could spoil the party and knock the Wolverines down to 7 or 8 wins. But I think 8 or 9 wins is a pretty safe bet, assuming things go according to plan. But there's always the chance the team can win 10 or 11. If everything comes together again, which comes together like that 2 years in a row, then, yeah, I'm going to have to start sending Brady Hoke some fruit baskets and gifts and stuff like that. That would be pretty incredible. I don't think there's going to be a huge regression in any area. I think we're looking at probably an 8 or 9 win team.
I think you're probably right about that, and I think realistically, looking at this schedule, that wouldn't be bad because in a strange kind of way, as we mentioned earlier in this interview, that could be, while not taking a step forward in the win and loss column, this team could be better than last year's, even with those 8 or 9 wins. Strange as that sounds.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have long to wait. It's early July. The previews are starting. The magazines are out there. It's like Christmas Eve for college football fans. We have to wait 2 months to unwrap the present, but until then, we can sit there and look at it, talk about it, and dream about what this season holds. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's right around the corner. Thank you to Zach Travis from Maize N Brew for joining us today. I'll have the link up to the site at Maize N Brew, one of our very best Michigan blogs, and I invite you to check it out. So thanks again, Zach, for joining us today, and we hope to get you back during the season.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to our special guest today, Zach Travis from the blog Maize N Brew. Check out Zach and all of the great writers over at Maize N Brew at www.maizenbrew.com. That's www.maizenbrew.com. Coming up next, we wrap it up for another week here on the Michigan Man podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine. On Wolverine Quick Hits today, not a lot to report. As a matter of fact, nothing to report on the Wolverine athletic scene as it is early July. Really nothing happening right now, but I would like to remind you to become a member here at GBMW. Visit www.gbmwolverine.com and sign up for membership. Benefits include daily email reminders when a story is published or a mailbag question is answered. You also need to become a member for full participation on our always interesting message board. As a member here on GBMW, you can also take part in our popular Monday Night Live chat with E-Rock Wolverine, Coach BT, Maze Man, Doc for Blue, World's Wolverine, and our very own hockey guru, Jostmeister. The Monday Night Live chat is taking a summer vacation, but will return in just a few weeks in August when fall practice begins. So join GBMW today and get your daily Maize N Brew fix of news and conversation. Visit www.gbmwolverine.com and sign up for membership today. Then each Wednesday you can listen to the Michigan Man Podcast. The show is now available as an Android app, which can be purchased from the Android App Store at Amazon.com. If you are an Apple person, you will find our app in the iTunes App Store. If you listen to the show on your Apple device, please take a minute to give the show a review. It does help a lot. Our listener lines are open 24/7 if you would like to give us a call and leave a comment we can use on an upcoming show. Our number is 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. I'll have that posted on my show notes page. Whatever's on your mind, football, basketball, recruiting, hockey, just give us a call, state your name, tell us where you're calling from, and then give us your 2 cents worth or your opinion. If you would rather not leave a voicemail, but still have a comment or suggestion for the show, just email us at the Michigan Man Podcast at yahoo.com. That's the Michigan Man Podcast at yahoo.com. I welcome your thoughts and opinions on anything Maize N Brew. Thanks again to our special guest today, Zach Travis from Maize N Brew. I invite you to head over to Maize N Brew, check out Zach and all of his fine writers as we prepare for this upcoming football season. You'll find them at www.maizenbrew.com. That's www.maizenbrew.com, and I will also have that posted on my show notes page. Once again, a reminder that we are on our summer programming schedule of 2 shows a month, so we're not going away, just slowing down to enjoy what's left of summer. Weekly programming will resume in August as we prepare for the upcoming 2012 season. Our next show will air on Wednesday, July 18th, and our special guest will be Andy Reid, who is a staff writer over at the Wolverine, as we continue with our preview shows for the upcoming season. So in the midst of your busy summer schedule, don't forget to download the show and take us with you on your summer travels and vacation. Thanks again to all of our listeners around the country, and especially to our servicemen and women serving in Afghanistan, especially on this July 4th, who listen to our show via the Armed Forces Internet Service. We appreciate the kind words you send to us, and we are pleased to be able to bring you news of your Wolverines wherever you are. And again, if you get the show from iTunes, please give us a review. So until Wednesday, July 18th, I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Happy 4th of July, take care, and as always, go blue. Thanks for listening to the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine. You can find us on the web at www.gbmwolverine.com. That's www.gbmwolverine.com. For audio posts or other fan feedback, please call our listener line at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Email fan feedback to the Michigan Man Podcast at yahoo.com. That's the Michigan Man Podcast at yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan. The Michigan Man Podcast is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!